In Russia, increasingly alarming signals are being heard about the state of the economy, and not from the opposition, but from figures loyal to the Kremlin. State Duma Deputy Mikhail Delyagin, speaking on the propaganda TV channel Tsargrad, unexpectedly frankly described the situation the country has found itself in under the current regime. Churchill once said, "I thought I would die of old age, but I will die of laughter," when the Soviet Union became an importer of grain. Last year we became an importer of potatoes. I don't think this has ever happened, said Delyagin. According to him, for the first time in many years, Russia has switched to importing what it once produced in excess, and this is a consequence of the destroyed economy. The destruction of the economy is to blame for this, including because of the unavailability of loans, the literal implementation of rules that are written in an absurdly cruel manner, without taking reality into account. We now need emergency measures in order to simply maintain minimal economic development, so that we do not import grain next year, the Russian deputy noted. This admission sounds especially telling given that Delyagin is not an oppositionist but a long-standing supporter of Putin's course. His words are a signal that the system itself is beginning to recognize the depth of the failure. However, he avoids naming the main thing: the aggressive war unleashed by Russia against Ukraine and international isolation are the key causes of the catastrophe. It was the full-scale invasion, sanctions and military spending that undermined the country's financial and productive resilience. But the Kremlin and its mouthpieces continue to pretend that the economy is only hampered by internal formalities and bureaucracy. The fact that even figures like Delyagin have started talking about the need for emergency measures shows that the situation is critical. And the attempt to address Putin from the airwaves is a signal of despair. The system is at a loss, and even loyal people are starting to say out loud what they have long kept silent about.
Russian troops have entered Pokrovsk city in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, Ukrainian media reported on Tuesday, citing military sources. According to Ukrainian servicemen, the initial Russian infantry incursions into Pokrovsk were detected on July 17. Deep State reported that operation was underway to repel Russian advances in Pokrovsk city. A couple of days ago, the enemy seized an opportunity, exploiting a brigade's depleted infantry and a muddled battlefield assessment, to infiltrate the city via Zverov. The crisis had to be swiftly dealt with by the brave lads of the 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade and the 68th Jaeger Brigade in order to avert a potential catastrophe, Deep State reported. The source reported that Ukrainian troops have suffered losses in the operation to fight reconnaissance and sabotage groups of Russians. In Pokrovsk direction, Russians have gathered more than 100,000 troops, which allows them to actively put pressure on Ukrainian positions there, according to military analyst, veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian War, Reserve Major of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Alexei Getman on air on Radio NV. Russian forces have also captured the settlement of Grushevsko in Donetsk region, according to Deep State analysts. Grushevsko is located near the administrative border of Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions. In addition, Russians advanced near 4 more settlements. In particular, Russian troops advanced near Voskresenka and Orkhovoy, in the Novopavlovsk direction, also near Mayak and Yut, which are located north of the city of Pokrovsk. Earlier, Deep State analysts reported on the advancement of the Russian troops in several directions of the front. In particular, Russians achieved successes near Novodoretskoy, Shevchenko, Poltavka, as well as in Volnoy Pole, Andrievka and Popovyar in Donetsk region. The Russian Defense Ministry has declared the capture of Kamensky in Zaporozhye region. Ukraine has not confirmed its losses, although on the Deep State map, the village is almost completely indicated in the gray zone or under the control of the Russian Federation. Moreover, Moscow claims to seize Dnyipronogo in Kharkiv region, which is right on the border with the Russian Federation. However, Ukraine did not confirm this report. From a third to a half of all combat clashes occur precisely in the Pokrovsk direction. The situation is difficult. Russians are putting pressure. The large number of troops there make it possible to conduct tactical rotations there more often, when units are withdrawn not to their permanent deployment site, but several kilometers from the front line. There they can rest, get themselves in order and go into combat again. This happens once every 7 to 10 days. This allows the Russians to use fresh forces almost constantly, Getman said. He added that Ukraine also conducts such rotations, but the interval between them is longer, which gives the Russians a certain advantage. At the same time, assessing Russia's successes, the expert noted that the enemy has been trying to take Pokrovsk at least into a tactical encirclement for a year and a half. Russia unleashed one of the largest aerial assaults on Ukraine in recent months overnight into Monday, targeting multiple regions across the country, with Kyiv being a primary target. According to Associated Press in Kyiv, the assault began shortly after midnight and continued until around 6 a.m. Residents were kept awake by machine gun fire, buzzing drone engines and loud explosions that echoed throughout the city for hours. Kyiv military administration head Timur Tkachenko said the attack caused damage in 6 city districts. The heaviest strikes hit the Darnitsky district, where a kindergarten, supermarket and warehouse facilities caught fire. In Shevchenkivsky district, a drone struck the Lukyanivska metro station entrance where people were sheltering at the time. Videos posted on social media showed a smoke-filled platform of the station with dozens of people inside. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said the station had to be ventilated in an enhanced mode. Vadim Volkov's apartment was damaged. He sheltered in the parking with other neighbors. Other districts, Solomiansky, Holosivsky, Dniprovsky, and Svyatoshinsky, reported damage primarily from falling debris. One person was killed and 7 others were injured in the capital, including a child with multiple injuries, according to authorities. The assault marks the first major attack on Kyiv since U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy to Ukraine visited the city last Monday. Russian forces had paused aerial strikes on the capital during and for several days after his visit. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 426 Shahid and decoy drones overnight, as well as 24 missiles of various types. They say 200 drones were intercepted with 203 more jammed or lost from radars. As for the missiles, Air Force says most of them were intercepted and the rest jammed, as no missile hits were recorded.